Hi everyone, my name is Laura Hunter and I'm studying a Bachelor of Education Early Childhood. My school is based in the outer suburbs of Melbourne, Victoria, and I'm teaching a foundation classroom with 24 mixed gender students. There is one student with an undiagnosed behavioural problem as well as a student with English as a second language. The concept that I'm teaching is part of the Australian curriculum strand Number and Algebra, the substrand being Pattern and Algebra. I'm hoping to develop mathematical thinking in recognising pattern attributes and constructing repetition patterns. My teaching will prompt students' problem-solving skills, communication skills, and allow students to apply mathematical ideas to their day-to-day lives. As stated in my provocation, the students have engaged in prior learning experiences of sorting and classifying with their educator. As I have yet to see this prior knowledge, my first experience will be on finding out what the students know. Although my experiences are related to patterns, Mitchell, Papik and Mulligan clarify that for students to be able to recognise and make a pattern, they must first be able to distinguish differences and similarities between materials. I have included within my first experience a range of common classroom environmental materials found within the environment to connect to the Department of Education numeracy indicator I measure and compare my world. By getting children to identify, name and describe objects, I'm opening up the desire for conversation, allowing myself access to the students' thinking process and prior knowledge. My prompting words add mathematical vocabulary that will be explored through following experiences. In 4 of my 5 experiences, I include a children's book, video game or song to help draw in the students' interest in a fun yet mathematical learning way. Within this experience, the class reads Sorted Out by Barbara Morokonda. The following short tasks allow students to investigate, explore, and manipulate objects into groups both guided by myself and independently. Giving students free time to explore a concept will allow myself to observe the students' prior knowledge. I've now observed the students engaging in sorting and classifying experiences. My gallery walk allows students to display their knowledge in grouping objects by using functional thinking to make generalizations and relate objects, which is a type of algebraic thinking defined by Anna Steffens. Within this task, I will be observing students' gallery walk and knowledge of grouping. Students will receive peer assessments that assist them in progressing to further learning experiences in patterns. Now that children recognise the technique of sorting, grouping and classifying objects, they will be able to progress and use their knowledge to develop simple repetition patterns by their attributes, such as colour, size, shape, use and texture. Mitchell, Papik and Mulligan influenced my learning experience due to making note that at the age of my intended students, their perspectives is most easily justified in case of repeating patterns, which the consistent relation between successive elements is as simple as can be imagined. For this, I decided my 4 following learning experiences on patterns would focus on simple patterns. Simple repeating patterns have a recurring structure that can be generated by the repeated application of a smaller portion of the pattern. Simple repetitive patterns follow an A-B-A-B structure. I ensure that I touch base on classifying and sorting objects from our previous lessons, as it is clear that it is a fundamental part of creating patterns. Before further gaining students' interest with Beep Beep Vroom Vroom book by Stuart J. Murphy, where students can make predictions and also try and identify differences in patterns. This allows students to use some of their mathematical vocabulary introduced in the last experience. Within these tasks, the students are guided through a model creation of a pattern, scaffolded with creating a simple pattern as a class, and then in small groups experiment with making patterns. I've worked these lessons to follow copy, continue and create patterns with objects and drawings from the Australian curriculum so that students feel comfortable in transferring and adapting what they have learned from one context to another. My assessment for this section is simply through observing groups, photographs, verbal praise and constructive feedback. The photographs will be added to the student's portfolio with a description of the task, individual progress and connections to the curriculum. Children have now experienced making patterns using various materials in their learning experience above. With the use of the Australian curriculum, I can see that there is needs to extend with the inclusion of patterns made with sounds, movement or drawings. Within this task, students will have the opportunity to describe their findings with language including alike, same, different, belongs, doesn't belong. Sticking with the sequence of using student resources to engage my class, the students will, as a group, play the game Monster Choir. This resource introduces patterns and sounds to students in a fun and exciting way, whilst requiring the students to use their thinking strategies to engage, problem solve and adapt to the new situation. Introducing pattern and movement was a great way to get the students up and moving. This experience could have a cross-curriculum link in HPE. Macmillan expresses the need to create lessons where children can express abstract representations. This task was created to show students that pattern attributes can include anything, even themselves. This is the first task that has required pencil to paper drawings and writing, as I felt it was important that students participated in as much hands-on experiences as possible at first. Though now that the students have constructed adequate meaning on simple patterns, I feel it is important for them to perform a more structured worksheet. This will display if the students are able to transfer their knowledge from actions to paper. The assessment of this experience is based off the completed worksheet. This learning experience allows children to gain a deeper meaning of pattern through play. Macmillan states that children gain deeper meaning whilst exploring, investigating, and engaging in play. These tasks are set to allow students to reflect on what they know, make connections between their prior knowledge, and extend their skills into new learning. Macmillan explains that when children are playing, they are exploring and investigating objects and abstract meanings and engage in many different types of thinking processes. It is through this investigation that students become in control of their own learning and create more concrete knowledge. The following is a brief outline of the activity area set up with a task plan. Though these tasks have been set up with an intended purpose, the purpose is unclear to the students and therefore is open to their interpretations. This experience is set up for students to use sorting and classifying skills from Experience 1 to sort the multicoloured puffs into colour groups. This task allows use of prior knowledge in colour patterns to build a pattern tower. Similar to Monster Choir, this task allows students to use the use of musical instruments to compose a song by alternating the instruments. Within this task, students use string, scissors, and cut-up straw to alternate colours and create jewellery. The printing of cups task allows students to create a repetition pattern through imprint, which is an experience that children are yet to try. The assessment for this learning experience is completed through observation, learning stories, artefacts, and photographs that will be added to the students' portfolios. Macmillan states that by students reporting and talking about their discoveries, knowledge becomes more grounded, solutions are made, and young children are able to see themselves as a mathematician. This task allows the students to investigate their outside environments, looking for patterns, and then share the discovery with peers. The basis of these lessons are built around the final task of delivering a show and tell presentation to the peers. Constructed from Macmillan's concept on applying logical reasonings as a way of informing the listener about concepts, processes, formations, or functions. Due to the time frame of the lesson, the introduction and explicit teaching sections of the experience are used by the educator to directly model exactly what is necessary to be successful within the task. Being introduced to the worksheet and reviewing that patterns are everywhere around us, even when we are not aware of them. Within the guided and independent working, there is aim for students to become investigators within their environment, to freely explore and make connections from their learning by identifying patterns within their outside world, which is part of the chosen Australian curriculum content description, observing natural patterns in the world around us. The assessment throughout the 4 previous lessons has been implemented in an ongoing technique in which the educator observes and interacts with students in order to form and develop an understanding of the learning as it takes place. Students develop confidence alongside competence so that the mathematical learning process is satisfying and fulfilling, allowing progression into the final assessment piece. The final learning experience includes a summative assessment that is marked on the rubric. The rubric focuses on the thought processes of students and how they have formed knowledge, rather than just pencil to paper wrong or right answers and test forms that can easily turn students off mathematics at an early age. My learning experiences introduce simple repetition patterns to students. For many, this will be their first experience with patterns. Due to this, my lessons begin with exploring, sorting, and classifying, which Michelmore, Papik, and Mulligan indicates as necessary knowledge in beginning pattern work. The learning experiences, 2 to 5, allow students to engage in a wide range of activities that teach, scaffold, extend, and progress students through structured, open-ended, and play experiences, leading to mathematical skills and logical structure in algebra. My assessments observe students, prompt peer discussion, and leads into a summative assessment, all in which circle back to my original question of what do students know, and it is then that my planning for progression will begin.